Ladies and gentlemen, it is that phenomenal time again when we once again get to come together and celebrate on the Renatus Invest Edge. My name is Jay Stark. It's my privilege to get to welcome you to our broadcast today. I want to extend a very special welcome to those of you that are here for the very first time. The design of this call is to bring out practitioners, individuals who are making their full-time living investing in our real estate landscape today, and have them share their tips, their tricks, and their insider knowledge with each one of us on how we can either get started or advance our real estate investing careers. Now, with that said, I want to introduce our host for the remainder of the call. He's an individual for whom I've had the privilege of working for 14 and a half years. I feel like I have to put that half in there because, you know, every day counts when you get to work with somebody who inspires you to be better and do better every single day. That is, of course, the founder and CEO of Renatus, Mr. Bob Snyder. Bob, I am so grateful for who you are, for how you show up, and for the way that you've empowered me and through me, my family, in our lives. You are truly a visionary, and it has been my utter pleasure to get to work with you. And I just hope that everybody on the call takes an opportunity to understand how lucky we are to have somebody like you at the head of the ship.
Well, thank you, Jay, man. I so appreciate that. You're such a rock star yourself, and I'm thrilled to be able to spend the next hour with everybody because we've got a fantastic show planned for you with a lot of great content on real estate investing and how to go out there and really capitalize on the foreclosure market and do some fantastic deals. But anyway, before we get into that, I just wanted to, mention a few different things. Like, for instance, the slide here, which it gives you an indication is the importance of subscribing to our channel to make sure that you are always apprised as to what's coming up so that you can ring the notification bell. We can make sure that whenever there's a new episode loaded up, then you're going to get notified first to go out and watch it. Like us, share us, let's see what we can do to get the word out to help individuals really accelerate the success of their real estate business. Because our mission statement is really clear, really clear. Here's what it is. Our mission is to create a new generation of real estate investors equipped with principle-centered financial education that empowers them to reduce debt faster, cut taxes legally, negotiate smarter, and invest wiser through educational strategies designed to pay for themselves. That's what Renatus is all about. And we have assembled an absolute first-class team, some of the best out there to help folks just like you better understand how to succeed as an investor. Because after all, man, real estate is one of the three basic needs, one of the three basic human necessities. You got food, water, and shelter. It's been around forever. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Doesn't matter what's going on in the marketplace. Doesn't matter what's going on with AI and automation and everything else. Individuals have got to have a roof over their head and a place to sleep. And that is never going to change. So we're excited about that. To talk about this subject today, we've got one of our practitioner instructors, an individual who's done hundreds of real estate transactions. He has coached and worked with people inside of the Renatus community to assist them in moving forward to success as well. I mean, this is an all-star when it comes to Renatus. His name is Mr. Gavin McCaleb, and he's going to be talking about foreclosures. Gavin has prepared some content for us, so rather than get into too much back and forth interview style, I want Gavin to share with you some of the tips and tricks of the trade to help you better understand how to capitalize on foreclosures in your area. So, Gavin, we're thrilled to have you here, my friend. Come on out here and let's get the show on the road.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. We do have a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. Whenever I come on a event like this, I take it as a personal challenge to make whatever we talk about actionable. And so I'm going to try to give as much information as we can collapsed into a very short amount of time. But first, I thought it might make sense to take a minute by way of introduction for those that might be new and haven't had the chance to interact with myself or maybe with Renatus very much. I have been the coach here at Renatus for 10 years. Does that sound right? It's coming up on 10 full years of the coach. Can you believe that?
I'm actually blown away. 10 years is awesome. I didn't realize it'd been that long already.
I mean, we ought to have a decade celebration of some sort.
We should.
Yeah.
Well, we do need to have some type of commemoration. But yeah, I was looking over my files in end of 2015. So it's almost exactly. Wait, I said 20 years? I said 10 years. It's 10 years.
10 years. So at
years,
the
yeah,
end of
that's right.
10 years, I mean, if it's the end of the year, then that seems to me like it'd be perfect opportunity to get out on the slopes again. Only this time we'll pick a day where there's blue skies, good snow conditions, less wind and cold.
I'm in for it. Let's do it. So, what was I saying? So, 10 years as the coach in Renatus, but even before that, I'm in the content, I'm in the education, I'm one of the trainers. I've been doing real estate as a career. It's a little bit, I don't know. I mean, it's the kind of thing you take upon yourself. Nobody hires you to be in real estate. I mean, there are real estate jobs, but with what we're doing here, it's a la carte, make of it what you will. So I've been doing real estate transactions for 23 years, and it's not always sunshine and lollipops. It's been a little rough a couple of times, but being able to adapt to some of the changes in the market and still be around and surviving after is certainly a hallmark of the real estate opportunity. Is that it changes, you change, you can still be in there. But anyway, just real quick intro to me. In 2003, 23 years ago, am I doing the math right? 22 years. What year is it?
25, Gavin. Yes.
Is it 22 years? 2003 to 25. It's 22 years. Sorry if I misspoke before. 22 years ago, I was getting out of college. My degree is public administration. And the purpose, if you guys don't know what that is, if you've never heard of it, it's not one of the big main ones. It's not law or CPA. It's not even MBA, business administration. Public administration is literally to get a job in the government. And by the way, if you guys work for the government, awesome. I think the government is a great employer. It's literally the number one employer, I believe, nationwide, is the federal government. And of course, in every state, there's numerous state governments. But let me just tell a brief but true story about why my greatest aspiration was to work for the government. So while I was in undergrad, I had a job working site acquisition for Nextel Communications, which was one of the big cell phone providers for many years. What happened was Nextel became Sprint, is that right? And then Sprint became T-Mobile. It's all conglomeratized. But back then, Nextel was building cell phone towers all across the country. And my job was site acquisition. So what would happen was I would sit down with the engineers, and they would draw a circle on the map, and they would say, we need to build a cell tower to cover this geographical area. And there's all kinds of engineering that goes into this. There's elevation, there's line of sight. It's very technical stuff. But all I had to do was circle the map and go talk to each of those property owners and ask them if they would be willing to receive a check for $1,000 a month forever from a cell phone company. So it's a great conversation. It's almost like Ed McMahon in the sweepstakes. I show up at your door. If your property meets the needs of a company like this, you get a 20-year lease, a 30-year lease, and you get paid every month. It's wonderful. Anyway, the point is this. As part of that, as you can imagine, you can't build a cell tower in someone's backyard sometimes. So it depends on their yard. It's got to be the right intersection of zoning, of different building types, quasi-commercial, agricultural, sometimes industrial. All those things are possible. And so what I was doing was I would go to the city jurisdiction, city planner, the zoning, and I'd say, hey, we got to put a cell tower here. But guess what? I would, and you, by the way, if I say guess what, you don't have to answer. Can you imagine if I waited for you to guess? There's not time. I would say 50 to 70% of the time when I would go to the city planning office, I would go to the clerk and I would say, hi, I want to talk to the zoning person. I want to talk to the city planner, the building department. They would say, sorry, he's not here or she's not here. And I would say, oh, it was 3:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. And I would say, well, gee, where are they? Well, I don't know. Well, when will they be back? I don't know. Okay, well, I guess just try again at a different time. Yeah, okay. So I would try again a couple more times, and they were either there or they weren't. And And suddenly the light bulb started to go on. Was that's the job for me? I want to be the guy who doesn't have to be at work and nobody knows where they are. And so I thought, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get a job in government? And that's literally, you guys, it sounds like a joke when I say it now, but I literally went back to school to be a public administrator and get a mid-level job in the city government to not have to be there. And so what happened was this. I got the degree. When I graduated, I applied to be the city manager of Park City, Utah. I applied to be the city manager of Vail, Colorado. I don't know if any of these towns sound familiar to you, but you can imagine that I was planning to collect a government paycheck while on the slopes. And needless to say, I did not get those positions. I found out as a young, recent college graduate that they don't hire the young, recent college graduate to be the city manager of Park City, Utah. They hire the guy who's been the assistant deputy manager for 15 years. So of course they do. I realize that now. But at the time I had high hopes and expectations. So here I am not getting those two jobs. And I think, well, I got to keep just applying. So I started applying for whatever mid-level, entry-level city jobs there were available at this same time. Late night infomercials used to be a thing. I don't know if it's even still a thing, but there was 3 channels. And after the regular programming stopped, you guys are the right age. Some of you are the right age. Some of you are only streaming. But back then, it was TV on, yes or no. It wasn't streaming. There was no choosing a million things. It was either, is there something on, yes or no, 3 channels. Anyway, at the middle of the night, they had what's called infomercials, a commercial that was on for 30 minutes, and it was the best entertainment you could ever see. So here's what happened. 3 a.m. I'm eating Cheetos. I'm sitting on the sofa, contemplating my next life choice. And who should come on the screen but one of these early real estate gurus? They've got motorboats. They got palm trees. They got a swimming pool. They're like, hey, wouldn't you like to flip houses? It's like, sure, I wouldn't mind doing that. Well, anyway, long story short, I went to that seminar. And I didn't know. So here's how the old style of real estate education used to be. It used to be like the breadcrumb system, where you go and you get one crumb, but it's not enough, and so then you have to pay to get the next crumb, and then you got to pay to get the next crumb. I didn't realize that was the case, and so what I did was I got the first couple of crumbs, and I just started doing real estate, and I didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to be able to do that. And I've got a dog whining. If you hear the dog too much, let me know. But otherwise, he's off on his own journey. Did you hear the dog at all or no?
We did.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I might. You know what I might do? I'm going to see if I can. Let me see if I can give him a treat. Hey, did you ever have a guy give a treat to the dog during the presentation? Hang on a second.
No, this is a first.
Yeah, I think this is a first. All right, Gavin. You have had a number of firsts with us over the years, so we're thrilled to see that this is just one more in a long list of firsts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I break new ground today?
We have definitely broken something.
Well, he normally just sits here quietly during the day while I'm on the phone, and I don't know what's going on outside. So we'll do our best to press forward. So in the old days of breadcrumbing, of course, now here with Renatus, we don't have a breadcrumb program. We have, here's all the information, get at it. So that's always a wonderful development in the industry. I went to the training. I took enough information, and my partner and I started doing some deals. So this was 22 years ago, and it took 4 months. That's one of the things I like to tell people, either in coaching or in trainings, that from the time that I had the full business model, it took 4 months of nearly full-time implementation. I say nearly because I want to be as honest and transparent as possible, because you guys think of full-time as 8 to 5. And I never could do that. So maybe I'd roll into the office around 10 or so. But remember, in real estate, there's a lot of evening activities, either marketing or appointments. And so, it all evens out. But I never got to the office at 8 or 9 a.m. Sorry. But full-time efforts every day, trying to get deals And it took 4 months to have an entire deal go through, which was to find the property, analyze it, put it under contract. And then what we were doing at the time was we were doing short sales. So we'd have to negotiate with the bank. And at the same time, we were doing what's called dispo. Disposition means finding an end buyer. And so at the time, we didn't know that this had all these different terms. Today's terms are short sale. It's almost like a wholesale is what it was, because we had it under contract and we would sell it to the end buyer before we didn't do the flips. We ended up starting to do flips. It took 4 months from the day that we embarked on this as a enterprise to close the first deal. And the thing that I don't want to gloss over, because a lot of people who are new are looking for instant success. And I talk to these people as the coach. I talk to these people that are like, "Hey, I'm ready to get a deal. I've been here for a week. I should have $1 million by now." And the interesting thing is, I have seen a few people just absolutely fall into an incredible deal almost immediately. And so I never want to remove that as a possibility, but I also don't want to promote it as an inevitability. Is it possible to find an incredible deal tomorrow? Of course, someone will. But it's more likely that if you're working daily on the business, that over time, you'll have enough opportunities that finally one will go through. If it takes a month, is that still okay? I think so. If it takes 2 months, is it still okay? I really think so. Here's the thing. If you decide on your first day of real estate that you're going to give it 3 months and either it works or it doesn't, then I would say don't do it. Don't pre-negotiate your surrender. You either are going to do it or you're not going to do it. And so for us, my partner and I, we were just going to do it. We didn't have a plan. There was no let's do something else, or what are we going to do if this doesn't work? We just figured we were going to do it. And so eventually it did go through. We got it. The first deal, I think, was either $22,000, $23,000 profit. And to put that into perspective, many of you are thinking that $23,000. Actually, it's interesting because when I say 23,000, some of you are thinking, "Oh, that's not very much," and others are thinking, "Wow, that's a lot of money." And it's the same number, right? It's just everyone has a different frame of reference. To me, to put it back into perspective, while I was in college, I was going to school and working part time, and for each of those years of school, my income was around $12,000 to $14,000. Because I was working part-time while I was at school. So for me to leave college, and within the first year, I've got one deal that makes $23,000. I thought, oh, wow, that's more than I made last year. Now, of course, we had to split it. But also, of course, once the wheels started rolling, we had the first deal closed, I think it was October of 2003, but there was 3 more deals before the end of the year. And then at that point, it's almost like proof of concept. If you do one deal, a lot of people can do one deal. But once you get a few deals in the pipeline, you hear pipeline, and basically what it means is to be in real estate, there's multiple components. There's finding deals, analyzing, there's putting them under contract, get the financing organized, and then there's whatever the strategy is. Are you going to flip it? Are you going to wholesale it? Are you going to set it up as a rental? The revenue comes at the end, and that's the pipeline. So at any given moment, you have properties at different stages. So right now, I have a home under contract to sell. So it'll sell at the end of the month. I'll have that money, and then we'll have to go look for another flip. So that'll be wonderful. So once the pipeline, that's what you guys should be looking for. Maybe 2 things. You should be looking for, 1, your first deal. That's the proof of concept. That's the deal that ties the thread together. Because anybody that's been near real estate training, they've heard the term lead. They've heard the term analyze, offer. They've heard the term dispo, perhaps. They've heard the term fix and flip. You've heard all these words, but once you've actually done the deal, it becomes concrete. Now you have proof of concept. Then you repeat it Then you fill the pipeline. Now you're in business. So that's my history. That's how I started, and it just ended up that string together several years worth of pretty good pipeline, and now I'm stuck. I can't get out of real estate. A couple of times, I have diversified. I owned restaurants for several years in addition to real estate. And if anyone here is tempted or curious to go into the food service business, I would be delighted to talk you out of it. Don't do it. Unless you are Pepsi Corporation. You know, Pepsi owns all those food brands. Taco Bell. What's the other one? KFC, Pizza Hut. But they got a much more extreme, what do they have? A much more detailed tax plan where if they lose money on one thing, it's actually good because they are making money. There's a whole tax thing. But you, as an individual proprietor, don't do food service. Please don't do it. The point is, I can't get out of real estate. The other point is, let me come back around to the concept of that first year. We went to the seminar, learned the skills. The framework was foreclosures. That's sort of what we're going to be talking about, the balance of today. So foreclosures is it's like a slice of real estate. I'm trying to figure out how to. You guys know what a slice is. So when you think of real estate, there's acquisition, and then there's execution. There's how do I get the property, and then how do I make money on it. So foreclosures is the way that we acquire the property. In other words, when we say, hey, do you want to do foreclosures, it only speaks to the type of demographic of person that we're going to interact with to buy their house. Once you buy the house, you still have to have a plan. You got to either fix and flip, you can set it up as a rental, you can do a short-term rental, you can wholesale it. Any of those revenue models are still part of it. But the part that's foreclosure is that these are, I hate to say low-hanging fruit. These are human people. But because of their circumstances, they are in a situation where they need a solution, and we provide the solution. Now, I want to acknowledge something that comes out frequently when I do a foreclosure training. People are like, you're taking advantage of these folks, you're being sneaky, you are, you're capitalizing on their misfortune. And in my experience, out of all the deals that I've purchased, in foreclosure, non-foreclosure, the folks that were in foreclosure, and I met with them, talked about the whole process, I bought their house, everyone thanked me for helping them. And they knew that that's our business. They know we're going to fix it up. They know we're going to sell it. But guess what? When a person is in foreclosure, it's uncomfortable. And it's oftentimes uncharted territory. They never got in foreclosure before. So they're sitting there in an uncomfortable, unknown, unique situation with no solution available. And then I show up and I chat with them. And one of the good things about both Renatus and my trainings and the way that I think we ought to approach things is a little thing I like to call, you wonder what I call it?
Yeah. I would love to know what
Edge
you're
of our
call
seats
it.
right here.
It's a couple things. Full disclosure, of course. The other one's transparency. I think if you go into a transaction where you're completely transparent about your motives and your plans and how you can help that person, you're always going to be okay. It's interesting because there are certainly folks in every industry that give the industry kind of a reputation. If you've ever been on, I'm trying to think of an appropriate reference. You know how social media is. I don't care if it's Reddit or Facebook or Instagram. Somebody talks about Reddit is the best. You don't spend any time on Reddit. But if you do want to get entertained, out of the goodness of my heart, I joined Real Estate Reddit because I thought I could chime in and give some advice. They're not there looking for advice, friends. They're looking to burn the place down. So what happens is if you're a flipper or an investor or a creative person, there's no quarter on Reddit. They will tell you that you are evil and manipulative and deceptive. There's no specifics to that. It's just unfounded claims. So back over to what I call it. if you're conducting your business with full transparency and full disclosure. So when I sit down with a homeowner in foreclosure, I say, hey, here's my situation. I'm a flipper. Now, I happen to also be a licensed broker in the state of Idaho, and so I can come to their table with a few different solutions. It really depends on how much time they have. It depends on the condition of the property. It depends on the mortgage balance. We could either talk about a listing, we could talk about a short sale, we could talk about a fast cash sale. But in all of this conversation, I explained to the person, hey, we got a few options here, and let me tell you what they all are. And they're not all through me. I can help by doing this or this, or you could try something. And so when I teach the foreclosures class in Renatus, I go over these what we call the 8 alternatives to foreclosure. And if I recall correctly, I think only 3 of them benefit me. But if I'm sitting in front of the person, what's going to happen, again, in this day and age, is if I leave this conversation, they're probably going to Google search. And if I told them, hey, the only thing you can do is sell me your house, there's nothing else you can do, and they do a little search after I leave, and it turns out that there is something else they can do, I've lost credibility. So I want to come straight in, and I train the investors here with Renatus the same way. When you're dealing with a person in foreclosure, the information is out there. So I may as well increase my credibility by being completely upfront, completely transparent, and tell them, listen, there's a few options you have to address here. Number one, you can just go work with the bank. Call the bank. Have you called the bank? Try calling the bank and see what they say. A lot of folks can just make an arrangement with the bank. They call that a loan modification or even just a forbearance. What they do, what banks do these days, they've gotten a lot softer. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. It used to be the bank was an immovable object, and either you paid the money or you got foreclosed. That's the way It's a Wonderful Life used to be. When George Bailey lost that $8,000, which I don't think they get enough. Like that, his uncle that lost the money. Who was it again? Uncle Buck, Uncle Benny, Uncle Harry.
Remember?
Well, whoever it was, he's the villain of the show. He really is. The point is that he was foreclosed immediately, but we don't have that. We don't have that anymore. What we have is lending institutions who do not want a bunch of homes on their books. So they will work with homeowners multiple times. Now, in order to work together with a homeowner, they got to have a plan. So if they don't have a job, they don't have any income, that's probably not going to be a long-term solution, but they should still call the bank and ask, hey, what are my options? Once they've explored that, then they come back to me and they say, well, what else can we do? So call the bank is one of the main things you should do. The other thing is reach out to friends and family. If you got somebody who will front you the money privately, or maybe you've got a credit card or whatever you can, the bank doesn't want your house. They want your payments. And if you owe $5,000, $7,000, whatever it is, if you can get that money, you're not in foreclosure anymore. So I guess the idea is that there's ways that they can stop the foreclosure that don't require losing the house. And so when we meet with these folks, a lot of times the first questions are, what are your ideal outcomes? And the person will set the tone. A lot of times they say, listen, we can't sustain this. There's no long-term plan here. We're ready to move on. Let's work on a sale. If they say that, I'll take their cues and I'll walk them down that path. But if they say, you know what, we had a short-term hardship, we had a little bit of an issue, I think we can remedy the situation, and then I'll give them the advice that leads in that direction. So I'm never going to argue someone out of their house. I'm never going to let the person know that things are worse than they really are. And by doing that, sometimes even if they do try to keep the house, it doesn't end up being possible. We circle back around. I can still help them. And so at the end of the day, my objective is to buy houses, of course, but it's only to buy houses when that serves that person's higher need and objective. Okay? So let me think. I want to go sideways and I also want to go back. Should I go diagonal?
Oh,
Let me know. It's hard to know which direction to
You've
go.
got such a variety of choices, Gavin. I'm not sure.
Well, what happened was I started with sitting right in front of the person and giving them their options, which I think is an exciting place to start. Maybe I'll mention just a little bit more about that, and then I'll go back and explain how do I get in front of this person. So I'm in front of the person, call the bank. If you have a way that you can come up with the money you owe, try that. If not, we can come in and resolve this as quickly as you need. We can come in and we can do a cash sale. We can, now you can even do, I don't know if you guys know this, you can do a subject to on a foreclosure if you bring the loan current. So usually you hear about subject to as one of our creative strategies. That's when we, the investor, make the mortgage payment. We can do that, but if they're already past due, you can't just make a normal mortgage payment. You've got to do one lump sum. They call that reinstatement amount. You got to reinstate the loan, and then you can start making the monthly payments. So we can do that as well. It depends on what my strategy is. If I'm going to do a flip, maybe I don't want to bring in all the cash to buy the house for cash. Maybe I'll just carry the loan for 3 or 4 months while I do the flip. So we can do a fast cash sale. Like I was saying, I'm a licensed broker. If I've got 3 or 4 months and they've got a little bit of equity, I'll just pitch them on a normal listing. That's still a revenue center for me. A lot of investors are either licensed agents or they've got an agent in their stable of influencers. Now, you may not be profitable on every single one of those, but if you're an investor and you refer a deal to an agent that's profitable, I mean, I'm not going to say that what they owe you or what they don't owe you, but my guess is that's good for business. So if you don't have one, have an agent you can refer business to. The other thing at the bottom of this list is, so at the bottom I say, look, one of the choices you have is to not do anything at all. And that's what you were doing before I showed up. You were just kind of dug in, letting things take their course without interacting, without taking any proactivity. And if you don't do that, eventually you'll get foreclosed. So what that means is there's a certain day and time that's listed in the paperwork where a third-party entity will hold a live public auction. And actually, it's interesting because they do the live public auctions in conjunction now with virtual. So many of the trustee sales here, at least in Idaho, and I know it's taken off incredibly. So I've been to the live auction where the auctioneer actually had had their app open, and they were receiving virtual bids in real time. And so if you can't make it down to the auction, you can preload your maximum bid into these auction apps. This one happens to be auction.com, but I'm sure there's several others. So I say, look, there's a certain date and time. The third-party company will auction the property, and at that moment, one of a few things will happen. Either the bank will now own the property, and somebody will get in touch with you soon, and you'll have to move, or a local investor will have bought your property, and they might come over that same day and say, hey, what are your plans? And hopefully they'll be nice and courteous. We can't control who it is. We try to train nice, courteous, and personable investors. But there's a lot of folks out there in the world, and a couple of them are rough around the edges. And so I don't know. I would hope that they wouldn't cause a bunch of problems. But once that auction takes place, it's out of your hands. Either the bank owns it or another party owns it, and you'll have to vacate under somewhat duress. And so if you want to control the situation, we got to take action prior to that moment. Now, it's not the end of the world. I mean, legally speaking, they're not going to come over and, hopefully, they're not going to come over and harass you or any of that kind of negative stuff. But like I said, we don't control all those different variables. So if we want to control the situation, let's try to do a deal first before that sale date takes place. And then at the very bottom of this list of what are their options is bankruptcy. So I want to mention this with a huge asterisk and warning to the user and the viewer. I never want to be in a position where I suggest a person does or doesn't file bankruptcy. I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. I don't know their situation. I don't know their credit score. I don't know their finances. It's a big deal. But technically, especially if they're on Google saying, how do I stop foreclosure? If you file bankruptcy, it does stop foreclosure. Yes, it does. But it just resumes in a different format because now you're in bankruptcy. And then after the bankruptcy, guess what? You have to start again with, what are we going to do with this house? Either we got to make the payments or we got to give it back to the bank. So yeah, it stops the immediacy, but it doesn't stop the need to address this question of, well, we owe the money to the bank. They're either going to get the house or the money. So like I said, if I mention it almost in these exact same terms, I say you're probably going to see or hear that bankruptcy will stop foreclosure. It is technically correct that once you filed that, all foreclosure proceedings will halt for the time being. And if you think that that's something you might consider, you'll have to consult with a bankruptcy attorney. I can't advise one way or the other. I can't say yes or no, other than just acknowledging that, yes, that filing will stop the foreclosure process. It doesn't solve the situation. It kicks it down the road. And sometimes people find that in their given situation, it might make sense to do that. And if that's the advice they get from an attorney, I think that's okay as well. But like I said, I mentioned it in the conversation because it's one of the things they'll get if they're out there doing their own research. Okay. So that was me telling the folks that are in foreclosure that there's a lot of options here. I would say that by the time I'm in front of the person, either they're going to call the bank and find out that maybe they can't swing it, and I'm going to either make the offer and or take the listing. Okay. So how do I get to this point? How do I get in front of these folks to begin with? So there is as far as I know, every jurisdiction, the county, usually it's at the county recorder's office. You don't have to go to the county recorder. You could get a lot of this stuff online. But what happens is when a person, let's see. Now, it's interesting because you're like, how far back do you go? Well, in the beginning, there was nothing. And then after that, there's a big bang. I can't go back that far. But let me go back as far as you are missing your first loan payment. Okay? So you have a mortgage. I shouldn't say you. Another person. It's not you. It's another person. An individual far removed from you has a mortgage. They live in the house. They have a financial difficulty. They miss the mortgage payment. When they miss a mortgage payment, it flags on the bank's internal system as at that moment, it's an item of interest. It's not urgent. It's not critical. It's just, maybe there's lots of reasons why people forget. They switch banks. They forgot they went on vacation, whatever. So you miss a payment, it's fine, no worries. Now you're 30 days late, or now the individual is 30 days late. They missed the second payment. Now it starts to escalate a little bit. You might actually get a courtesy call. The person might get a call from the bank that says, hey, notice you missed a couple payments. What's going on? Everything okay over there? Same type of a thing. If you have a plausible, hey, sorry, I've been out of sorts and here's the money. I'm really sorry about it. Possibly no negative consequences. But if they can't reach you, and now the third month rolls around, and the individual has missed a third payment, it's now what happens is usually that 90-day mark is the earliest that there's ever formal action. It doesn't mean that there could never be formal action prior to that. It doesn't mean they have to start on the 90th day. You know what? I've seen a few of these foreclosures where the person did not make the payment for 3 years. Whoa. And they didn't get foreclosed. And many of you are thinking, which bank was that? Right? You're wondering how far can I skate? I can't advise this. And you know why? Because that very same bank that waited for 3 years on that particular home has also filed foreclosure on someone who was 90 days late. So it's not the bank per se. I don't know if it's the certain rep. I don't know if it has to do with the zip code or the location. These were different states, but it was the same lender. I don't know all the variables. All I'm saying is if you knew 100% for sure that your loan could go 3 years without a payment, look, just don't risk it. But I've seen it before. So anytime after 90 days, the bank might take legal action. The first formal record is either, depending on if you're judicial or non-judicial, it's either notice of default or list pendants. So what those documents are, those are legal documents. Notice of default is a public record. They file with the county recorder. It says this individual with this mortgage is in default of the agreement. We're giving notice that we're starting the foreclosure process. That's what that document is. Same with the list pendants, only in the judicial states, they actually have to file a lawsuit to foreclose. So if you know you're in a judicial, one of the things that I think I'll take a second about is that many of you who are looking to invest, you're just going to do your own home local market. Don't worry about 50 states. Don't worry about judicial, non-judicial. Just find out what are the parameters in your state. How many months does it typically take before a person gets filed for notice of default? And in each state, there's an interval prescribed by state law of how long that process should take. So from the date of the notice of default to the date of the sale, there's a minimum elapsed time. It could be 90 days, it could be 120 days, it could be 100 days, it could be 6 months. And so each one of these are state specific. So you want to research that and say, like in Texas, it's 21 days. And so is there a chance to do foreclosures in Texas? Yeah, of course. There's a different strategy in Texas. But yeah, as soon as that notice of default is filed, it's a fast little shoot. 21 days before the sale date. Now I want to make sure that this part is crystal clear. This is the shortest interval possible. It's not the exact interval. And so what that means is if you talk about attorneys filing paperwork, if you talk about weekends and holidays, if you talk about the interval it takes to courier files over to the recorder's office, it's very likely to maybe be a couple extra weeks, maybe even longer, for them to actually execute this. It just means it can never be shorter. It doesn't mean it has to be exactly 90 days. It doesn't have to be exactly 120 days. And so as investors, this ends up being our window of opportunity. From the notice of default, when there's a public record that this individual, if they don't create a solution with their mortgage, they may lose the home. And so that's when I appear on the scene. We do a variety of marketing activities to try to create a conversation. Now, I would like to take just a side moment and talk about the philosophy of marketing. Did you expect this? Whew. I didn't. You know what? When I was thinking about logging in today, I didn't think I was going to say the philosophy of marketing. But here we are. A lot of people are like, I can't find deals. I'm looking for a deal. Let's try to get some deals. And while I understand the sentiment, I think if we're more precise, we're more satisfied. And so I don't think we're looking for deals. I think we're looking for conversations. What are you doing each day in your business to have a conversation about real estate? So it ends up being a lot of the same types of things. But if I have conversations, I'm counting myself as successful. Whereas if I don't get a deal and I start to feel bad about it, that's not productive. That's not helpful. So we're trying to get conversations with folks who are facing foreclosure. So we do marketing to that end. And what I like to call it is I'm going to coin a new phrase. I've never called it this before, but let me think. I like to call it philosophy of marketing. Curiosity. Let me think what I'm going to call it. Curiosity marketing again. It's back to marketing. Curiosity.
Curating curiosity through conversations.
Oh my goodness.
Are you kidding me? That's
C's.
perfect.
Look at this.
Somebody write that down and put it on a t-shirt and send it out as merch. And the reason why I'm trying to say it like that, curiosity is the point. It doesn't have to have a trademark or a registered whatever. The point is that I'm not trying to buy your house in the marketing. I'm trying to get you curious and trying to create a conversation. So what we do is the format ends up being, sometimes we do direct mail, we do postcards, we do what's called the yellow letter, which it doesn't have to be yellow, but just briefly. A yellow letter is in real estate marketing history, like it's been around for decades. It's a handwritten style letter that when they open it up, it looks like it was personalized. And they feel warm inside. That's all it ever was. But it's mass produced, and you just send them out to everybody. So they're still getting letters. They might be getting voicemails. This day and age, they might be getting texts. This is the international sign language for texting, I think. I don't know. Actually, these days I've been using Swipe. Do you guys use Swipe at all, or is it still thumbs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get myself into trouble quite frequently with Swipe because the old Swipe app,
but you gotta,
that was
you've gotta
fantastic.
keep trying
But now the new Swipe apps, I mean, they misspell all sorts of stuff.
You know, though, if you ever join me over on Apple, which I know you guys are, what are you, Windows? What are you, Android?
Yes,
Anyway.
Windows has been out of business for a long time in the phone
It's an
industry.
Android app. That's what it is. Android, not Windows.
Anyway, but Apple has native Swipe on their keyboards. It's not third party. Regardless, the point is that this day and age, SMS texting is a third party platform anyway. You're not on your phone. You just upload it into the system. So the point is, what we're doing is we're trying to create curiosity and we're trying to create conversation. So I don't usually come out and say, "Hi, give me your house." I might say something like, "Hey, if you'd be interested in selling your house quickly, I have an idea I think you'll like." ... Right? So that could be a text, that could be a voicemail, and it creates curiosity. All I'm trying to do is interact with the person. It doesn't trick them to selling their house if they don't want to. But it allows me to engage with somebody that that if we can open up that little exchange, it counts as my what do we call these KPIs? My number one KPI these days is conversations. How many conversations do I have? And that counts as a conversation. The other one that's real sneaky, and I got to tell you, I both love and I hate it. I love to do it. I hate to receive it, but it's in there. You guys have been getting these texts from the people. It says, "Bob, is that you?" And you get this text that just says, "Bob, is that still you?" And you're like, "Oh boy, is this somebody?" It's probably marketing, but is it really somebody? Right? You have that moment of tension where you're like, "Wait a minute." First of all, absolutely 100%, it's just advertising. Of course, 100%. There's no question. But there's that moment of, wait a second.
Oh, did we just lose him?
I think we did. But you know what? I'm hoping that he'll come back.
I'm hoping he'll come
Because
back too.
in that moment,
He'll be like,
he's
"Oh,
like, wait
geez."
a second, and then he's gone.
Yeah, that was like perfectly timed. It could not
look at
have
there.
created
Look
more
at there.
curiosity.
He's back again.
Am I back?
You're back.
My
Yeah,
goodness,
you
that
know
was
what?
called the
I
power
can't-
of the pause. The timing was perfect. You
Yes.
had my full and undivided attention at that point.
I was
I
wrapped.
can't replicate it. Did you hear Jay Stark's? Did you hear the Jay Stark one?
No.
No.
Oh, so I said, "Hey, is this still Jay Stark?" And then Jay gets the message. And he's like, "Oh boy, I know that it's not a real person, but I'm really tempted to reply." Right. So as soon as they reply, you say, "Great, Jay, glad to connect with you. It's Gavin. I'm in real estate." So I don't want you to trick people for too long. I just want you to pique their interest, get their curiosity going, and get that beautiful conversation.
So Gavin,
here's
can I ask you a question real quick?
Oh, yeah, I
'Cause
want you to.
You've talked a lot about the digital marketing. You've talked about postcards and different things along those lines. Do you ever get face to face with these individuals as a first point of contact?
Maybe. In fact, I don't know how you did this. Do you have crib notes or what? Because this is literally the next section.
Gotcha.
So what we do is this. You will, and this was the action item. I talked about at the very beginning how I take the challenge to try to give actionable content. So we've sort of, so far what we've done today, we've talked about my origin story. We've talked about sitting in front of the person and giving them their options. We talked a little bit about the process of foreclosure and how you need to research in your city and state the dates that are relevant. And now we're into the marketing phase. So here's your actionable content. You can go either directly onto the county, or you can go to the website. You can physically go there. A lot of third-party companies provide foreclosure lists. Once you are in possession of a foreclosure list, I highly advocate for multiple touches. And so a touch is just a marketing interaction. One of the touches that's most productive is door knocking. I've got a list of people and addresses. And if I've got time on my hands and fire in my belly, I might go out and knock doors one day. And so, yes, that is very productive. I will tell you this. If you guys want to try door knocking, I'll give you some pro tips. Number one, daylight hours seems always to be the best. Number two, have a deliverable with you, because a lot of times, even if they're home, folks won't answer an unknown knocker. They won't know what it is. If you knock on a door and you don't leave anything, did you knock? It's one of those age-old philosophical quandaries. But if you have a leave behind, if you have a piece of collateral, a brochure, a door hanger, whatever, then you can knock with impunity and leave the little thing. And again, these leave behinds, I do think it's okay to be in real estate, right? I don't want to be too tricky. But if I can pique their curiosity, like I told you, one of my favorite phrases is I have an idea I think you'll like, or I have a solution you might not have tried. Those types of things. Either that or something as simple as if it would help you to sell your house quickly, I might be able to get you some money by the end of this month. And now suddenly they're like, if I can get money this month, that changes everything. So whatever little kernel you think of, whatever little hook that might make somebody reply, it applies across all these platforms: voicemail, calling, mailing, postcards, door knocking equals door hanger or flyer or brochure. But yeah, that's a fantastic way to do it. If I could only do one thing and I had time on my side, door knocking absolutely would get you deals for sure.
Yeah. I know that my wife is really fond of using the handwritten sticky note, right? She gets those extra large sticky notes and she'll handwrite it, and she has very pretty handwriting, and so it's very legible, and as a woman she's just much more non-threatening than a couple of guys walking up on your doorstep that you don't know, and so that's her preferred method of the leave behind. Bob, I know we're creeping right up on the top of the hour.
We are. I mean, our time has gone fast.
Yeah,
it's gone fast, Gavin. That's
now
because,
the group doesn't know this, but I warned you guys that I was going to run away with this whole thing, and I feel like I did it.
You did an excellent job, as you always do, Gavin. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge and everything else. I'm just kind of curious, just a little pro tip here for the group. When you first started investing, what was the method that you used to get the money to do your deals?
Oh, you're going to like this. So, can you imagine if you didn't like it? I'm the kind of guy who prefaces, you're going to love this, you're going to like this. So, regardless of your emotions, here's the correct information. My friend's uncle had a self-directed. Do you know the answer, Bob?
I don't know the answer. Yes, that's why I wanted you to share it.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were leading the witness or if this was a wide open answer, because we have talked about this before. I just didn't know if you remember. So my friend's uncle's business was self-directed retirement accounts. So he had a self-directed Roth IRA, and he had a clientele that had self-directed IRAs. So we were using these folks' IRAs to buy the properties, and then sometimes we would do a quick double close, and they would get the money back within a day. Sometimes we really would do the full flip, but they'd get the money back in 3 months. But it was, self-directed retirement accounts from other folks that had already, these were guys that, had their white-collar job for 30 years, and they had hundreds of thousands of dollars in their self-directed retirement accounts. And to this day, that's my number one favorite, easiest source of private money is somebody with a self-directed retirement account, because they're in growth mode. They, first of all, they like real estate as a asset. It's tangible, it's collateralized. They understand the transaction. If it falls to them, they know what to do. But they also, like, if I pitch somebody a deal, I'll buy it for this much, I'll fix it up, I'll sell it for this much. It's a no-brainer. So self-directed retirement account partners are number one, high on the list of priorities.
Fantastic pro tip, Gavin. Fantastic pro tip, and it's just another one of the great ways that individuals can tap into the money. Because I think that there are so many folks out there that are like, well, I can't do real estate. I don't have the right credit. I don't have the right money. I mean, whatever it might be. The fact is, the U.S. economy last year, what was it? It was like 28 or $29 trillion in business. There's plenty of money out there. I mean, you might be a little short, but there are ways to tap into it so that individuals who are not satisfied with the return on investment that they're getting could actually loan you money for the deal. And that's why I wanted you to bring that up, Gavin, is because it just was a perfect example of how do you find the money to do the deal so that you can turn the property and make a profit.
For sure. Yeah, it's incredible. Do you want me to wrap this thing up?
You know what? We do need to wrap this thing up, man. You wrap it up, and then I got a couple of announcements I need to get into.
Yeah, let me just give a couple bullet points. So I realized if anyone was able to stay with us the whole time, I really only covered the foreclosure corner of this equation. I talked about the fact that they missed the payments. I talked about how there's a notice of default that signifies that publicly. I talked a little bit about talking to the person about their options, but I didn't have a chance to get into how do I value the property? How do I do a flip? I didn't go into any rental analysis. So this foreclosure add-on is an appendage to a bigger real estate strategy, which of course I know you know here in Renatus we have training on fix and flips. We got training on buy and hold, short-term rentals, all that stuff. You need to combine these strategies. It's like each one of these is an ingredient, and you got to put these in, and then you got to make an investment business that matches your appetite.
Oh,
is that good?
Oh, I like that. I like that.
That was good.
Yeah, I mean, since how he started out, you know, with a little bit of backstory on his going into the food services business.
That's right.
Yes, he had to
that's
wrap
right.
it up that same way. Nicely
Attaboy.
done, Gavin.
Man, you
Thank you.
baked that cake.
Yeah, I did.
Gavin, thanks so much for being with us, man. You're such a rock star. It's great to have you in the community. You're an awesome instructor, great coach, and you have changed a lot of lives. And today, well, you gave individuals some perspective on how to maximize their returns on the wonderful world of foreclosures. So thank you for being with us, my friend.
Yep, glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Right
it's
on.
great to have you here. Hey, and I've got a few announcements I want to make. First and foremost, listen, speaking of Gavin McCaleb, we've got a new promotional class, a new education promo video that is available for our students, our community members that's in the back office. And then there's another thing, too, that I really want to make sure that all of our community members understand. We've got our E3 Summit coming up, and there's been a lot of folks who have said, hey, how do I promote this? Now, our Drive sales system that we have adopted inside of Renatus has been a phenomenal way to shortcut the way that we build relationships and grow those relationships. And because Drive is based on, you know, there are individuals who have a buying language, if you will, that they would prefer to use. We call it director, relator, intellectual, validator, and executive. We've created promotional videos for the E3 Summit that are available through that QR code right there. And each of you that are involved in the community and you want to invite folks to come to the E3 Summit, well, guess what? There's your promotional tool. But what you need to do is you need to go in, download those, and then I would suggest we've got 37 days left, 37 days to the E3 Summit. I mean, it's coming up quickly. So what I would suggest is download each of the videos off of that QR code. That'll take you there. And then upload those to your social media. But don't just do it all at one day. I mean, you know, upload maybe the director one day, and then 3 days later, upload the relator and post that to your social media. At the end of the video, it talks about how individuals can get registered. And it's really simple. You know, either they will just take the link that they can see on the screen and retype that into a browser, or they could just go into your profile and click on the link. That means that you need to go in on your social media and add the link to your profile.
Now, this link in particular, just so there's no confusion,
yes,
is the link that gets created. So when you go to the event on the calendar and click share, that is the link that you're going to want to take and put in your profile of whatever social media it is that you are sharing these on. The format on the video, there's two different formats. There's the 16:9, which means it's a landscape video.
Yes.
And then there's the 9:16, which is a portrait style video. So whichever platform you're on, make sure that you have the appropriate not resolution, what's the word?
The appropriate layout.
Yeah,
I
layout.
can't remember what the dang thing is,
I
but it's
just
a
lost the
16:9
word.
or it's a 9:16. But yes.
Yeah, but make sure you have the appropriate video for the appropriate social media, and make sure you have your link, because that way anybody who registers through that link will get protected to you until the E3.
Yes, it's an old photography, terminology. It's either landscape or portrait. That's what it is.
Aspect ratio.
Yes,
Aaron just
aspect
texted
ratio.
me.
There we go. In video, aspect ratio.
Yes.
Not landscape or portrait. That's just a photo. Yes. What were we thinking?
Jay.
Oh my goodness, man, that's great. But anyway, that's a great way for you to get the word out and help individuals understand how they can get registered for the E3 Summit. Now, there's another thing that we have just published, and that's available in your back office. And here's the link or the QR code that'll take you right there. And that is an introduction. We call it the EPIC introduction. Why EPIC? Because EPIC is a great acronym. It stands for Education, Properties, Income, and Community, which is a big part of what we're all about. You want to learn more about what Renatus does and see whether or not it's a good fit for you in your investing career and your business? Well, all you've got to do is, well, go to that intro video, and it will walk you through the wonderful world of real estate, everything, about what we do, how we do it, how we support our students, and how you too can become an investor, or if you're already an investor, how you can take it to the next level and really leveling up your game as well. So I would encourage you to do that. You want to learn more about Renatus, you want to learn more about how to become involved with our community, how to benefit from being involved in our community, that's where you go. Renatus.me/intro, or just grab your camera on your phone and use the QR code, and that'll take you there as well. Here's another thing that'll get you more information about us, and that is our Instagram and Facebook. The QR codes that are in front of you, that'll direct you right to the Renatus Instagram and Facebook pages so that you can see what's going on in the community. You can get involved from a distance, at least over social media, and you can check us out even further. Now, I mentioned the E3 Summit because it's such a powerful event. It's coming up October 23rd through the 25th, 37 days away. It's going to happen in Salt Lake City, Utah, at the downtown Salt Lake Sheraton. And we have got an all-star cast. Some of the best speakers and trainers in the business, man. This is going to be fantastic. Matt Snyder is going to be there, our VP of Corporate Relations. You're going to see, some of our newest PAC members and seasoned real estate investors, Mitch and Maylee Nelson, who are also the founders and creators of the First Flip Challenge. And what they're doing with the challenge inside of our community is the numbers are insane in terms of individuals doing deals and getting a fast start. We've even got John Pennington Jr. who's going to be with us. We're so excited about John joining us. John is the co-founder of Bridge Investment Group. That's a $28 billion investment fund. And he's also the author of Dollars, Gold, and Bitcoin, which is a great book. It's on Audible. It's on Amazon. You ought to go check it out. President of over 100 different corporations, married 40-plus years, 3 sons, 6 grandkids. Great guy, wealth of information. And he's going to be there with us as well. We've got 30-plus instructors and trainers that are going to grace the stage over 3 full days and some evening breakout sessions that you're going to love. You want to understand real estate and how it applies to what's going on in the marketplace right now, today, and how to capitalize on it. You do not want to miss this event. The E3 Summit, like we said, it's coming up October 23rd to the 25th in Salt Lake City, Utah. Register now by going to the QR code that's on your screen or just typing into your browser renatus.me/E3 Summit. And let's see you there. I'm going to be there. Jay's going to be there. Our team's going to be there. Our instructors are going to be there. The question is, are you going to be there? And here's another big question. Listen, if home is where the heart is, shouldn't your business be there too? That's the great thing about starting a real estate business. You start out part-time, home-based, and then you can expand it and scale it up to whatever size you so desire.
That's
there
awesome.
We go. It's a beautiful day, and that's a wrap. Thank you so much once again, Gavin, for being with us. We've got another fantastic episode planned for, next Monday.
Yep.
Can't wait to see you there. Until then, good day and God bless everybody.